Okay, so everybody got this slide? This is the last slide before we went to lunch. So 15 degrees after top dead center. Yeah? Okay, remember that. I'm telling you right now, remember Pell's magic angle. You'll see it in tests, you'll see it in other classes. So here's your little cheat thing for the day. Remember that angle, okay? So if you want to write that in your notes that it is important to know that angle, I would do so. Okay?
Why is it important to know?
It's important to know because it will be on your test.
But I mean,
But it is
other
also,
than that,
okay, well, it's important because you need to know that's where you want it to occur. So we were just talking about, we don't want the maximum pressure and it to ignite and everything to happen when it's at 0 degrees, right? We want it to, maximum pressure, we want it to happen here.
So in the real life world.
In the real life world, you want to know this because you want to know that's exactly where you want the timing to be. Because if you're not here, if you're straight up and down.
So in the real life world, are we going to go in and physically measure the degree?
No, physically you're not going to measure this.
Then why
do we care?
Why do you care?
If we're not involved,
on, you have to put them in a certain spot so when it sparks at 15 degrees before TDC. So the flame.
It does have to do with the timing, basically, because you're going to be timing the engine.
Right. Yeah. I'm just wondering how many times we actually go in and.
Well, you're going to time magneto the bus.
Well, yeah, you're gonna time the magneto, so you want to know. This is important for that.
Okay.
Now, if you're gonna like magically make this at this point, no, it's already set up that way. But you need to know that for that particular reason.
Okay, thank you.
It's because I want you to know everything. Okay, so at 90 degrees after top dead center, what happens? This is where we're looking at our maximum rotary force, which is down here. Maximum force is right at that degree. No, you don't need to know this 90 degrees or memorize it, but this is just to let you know. That's where you get the most rotary force.
So that's max torque?
What do you mean by max torque? I guess you could look at it that way. And all of this is timed off of that
Initial
angle. It's really cool. It all does it by itself. Like this is, you time it correctly, it'll all function just like it's supposed to. But somebody came in, like I said, Pal came in and figured out at this point this is what's going to happen. So if I want it to be its maximum force, I'm going to have it spark at this point. Okay? Does everybody kind of understand that? Alright, let's see our next slide. Everybody loves these diagrams, don't you guys? Some people they help, some people they don't. Okay. So piston force moving the crankshaft. So the top dead center. There's this little arc. Right here at the 90 degrees, so we're right at the top of this arc. But we were just talking about how it's got the most rotary force. It's showing it on the arc. I kind of like these, but I kind of don't. They're incorporated from another teacher, but some people can visually see it better with the charts. So, just something for you guys to visually think about. Oh yeah, in this. So all I want you guys to get out of this is the greatest force is going to be at this 90 degrees, okay? Next one. So, this is where we're happening. This is about 15 degrees after top dead center. So we're incorporating both of the lines. So when I go to the next slide, we'll incorporate that rotary force with the 15 degrees. So you guys, all the charts, the way it all comes together and they'll all cross. I know it's kind of confusing at this moment. So this is where it's going to be at top dead center. This is at bottom dead center. So where all this is happening, so this is within 15 degrees after top dead center. It's going to take the time to get to here. Basically everything I just said in the other slides. But it's just a different way of looking at it. It's different charts. If you guys can see it better with this chart versus the other chart or other pictures, that's good. Let's see. Sorry, I want to make sure I didn't forget anything for you guys. So you guys don't have to write anything down. It's nice to look at pictures, right? So remember when I was talking about how we don't want it to hit down like this? When we're thinking about the piston, we're thinking about a push. So you're pushing the piston, not hitting it down. So if we're doing this, that's what I was telling you when we have it straight up and down, it's basically hammering down on it. We don't want that. So it's kind of just another visual picture when I'm talking about when we just want to push it. So when you're pushing it, it's already at that 15-degree angle. So when you're pushing it, it will start to rotate around, remember? If it's straight up and down, that's what's going to happen. It's just going to, all the force is going to go right through the connecting rod. Okay? Just a kind of a picture so you guys can kind of see the push versus the bang. So I believe this came out of a beamer, believe it or not. But see, look what happened.
Ooh.
It's not supposed to look like that, is it?
Uh-uh.
Kind of want that to be straight. So when there's, okay,
It's
you thought it was at an angle?
the camera lens.
It's a camera lens playing tricks on you.
It's a beamer, so it does stuff like that.
I said it may be out of a beamer. I'm not 100% sure.
German.
I feel bad. I'm not a beamer fan. People love their beamers. I think they're too complicated for me. Well, not complicated, but expensive. All I see when I see beamers is expensive, but some people's last forever. But this is something that can happen when we have detonation. Okay? So everybody kind of see that? So remember what I was talking about? When it's straight up and down, there's no angle, there's no force. You can't go anywhere. You're just going to go straight down, and it's going to take the whole blow. Okay? So just kind of a visual of you guys can see what it looks like.
That's the pistons are like that one.
Well, if you see these little marks up here, little bumps. But yeah, I saw a bunch of pictures with pistons, but I wanted to see one with the connecting rod and see what literally could happen to it. And that's one of them. I don't usually see that. They have plenty of pistons that show you what happens with detonation, but this is the one I could find on that. So, all right. So this is basically talking about if it were to happen at top dead center. So just another visual way of looking at it. So what if it happens at 30 degrees after top dead center instead of the 15 degrees?
You're not getting the most use out of the power.
You know what?
Less efficient.
It's
They're
less
just not getting
efficient.
as much power, right?
Not as getting enough.
You're not using the entire pressure before it gets all the way down to bottom dead center, and then it's not. You would still have expanding gas in your combustion chamber, which so you end up not making use of it.
So basically, you're not using the full potential of the.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. I was just seeing what you guys had to say about that. Yes.
When you advance the ignition timing, are you bringing it closer to top dead center or further past it?
You're bringing it closer. So when you retard it, you're bringing it back, and when you're advancing it, you're going closer to the center. Oops. There's only one on that one. Not utilizing my slides here. Okay, so this relationship is what determines all timing criteria for reciprocating engines. So what we just talked about. Those diagrams with when we want this spark to occur and Powell's magic angle. You're moving quicker than I thought. Excited. Aren't you guys excited? I can see excitement going on. Some guy said he was excited and loved this program, right?
Yay.
That's still not convincing. You guys all got that written down?
Yay.
This was all in the
So remember we were talking about how big the piston is on about this, about what time we do the spark. So most of the time it happens to be 25 degrees before top dead center. This one happens to be, the bigger it is, to be 40 degrees before Pal's magic angle. So Pal's magic angle happens at 25 degrees before top dead center. So 25 and 15 is what?
40.
40. That's correct. And each, they have their specs to tell you what, so if you have this size diameter, it'll tell you how much before top dead center you want to see the spark. Most of them are written on the data plate or somewhere in the engine manufacturing specs for the engine. But most of the time you'll see it on the engine. If you don't, then you have to go look for the manual and it takes a minute, but it's there. And you guys will be looking for this when you guys are doing your timing to the engine.
So it explains what are some of the different, what the world of automotive engines have such different, well, not completely, but have slightly different timing requirements than aviation engines. Because all the Powell's angles are the same, the diameters of the pistons are very different.
Yeah, so yeah, the angle you still wanted to have it at 15 degrees, but how far you retard the spark versus, yeah, that's where it's going to determine between the different engines. So yeah. Am I losing anybody on this?
Yeah. So what you're saying is the bigger the diameter, the more of an angle,
Yeah. Well, the bigger the diameter, the
Less.
or the less of an angle.
what do you mean by angle?
Instead of 15 degrees, is that
It's always going to be 15 degrees after top dead center. It's always going to be. So we want. So most of the time we want to see the spark happen 25 degrees before top dead center. So remember that picture I showed you with the green? And it's got the spark back here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to determine is when you spark it. But we always want it to occur 15 degrees after top dead center. Pal's angle is always going to be 15 degrees. When we ignite the spark is going to determine on the engine. So most engines would be 25 degrees before top dead center. But if the size of the engine, depending on the piston size, it may be further back, it might be further
Oh,
forward.
I get. Okay. I
Okay.
see what you're saying. Okay. Thank you.
Has to do with, how far the flame front has to travel and
Yeah.
the volume of the cylinder head. And
Yeah, basically the size is going to tell you where you are, but you want that to always occur at 15 degrees after top dead center. Okay? You guys getting tired? Yeah? No? 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 No?
I haven't downloaded enough of your brain yet.
Oh, well, you have plenty of weeks to go, and I'll be around. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next slide. So we're talking about cars. Remember I said cars might have different timing versus engines are always, or aircraft engines are always the same.
Brenda, what was the third thing on that last slide?
Oh, it says or 25 degrees before top dead center. Sorry. Got a little trigger happy there. So everybody have that written down?
1 second.
Okay.
as opposed to a propeller, which is going through air, the thrusting medium.
as, what do you think about when you think about cars?
Connected via lots of things to the road from the tires.
From the tires.
So, yeah, it's coupled to the thrusting medium. Unless you're doing a burnout, and that's, you know.
That's completely different. Everybody good? You guys are being champs. You're hanging in there. So remember what I said, they're all pretty much the same, so most of their power is in the last few hundred RPM. And this is why we don't adjust timing that much, and then, well, we never adjust the timing on airplane. Okay, so just to reiterate, next week, I want you guys to bring your tools. Probably just gonna need probably a small screwdriver for most of it. And I would grab, if you're somebody that needs to separate the parts, grab the bags that you want to separate. I'd at least have a towel down, because if you drop the parts, they're gonna go right onto the towel. They're not gonna run away from you. So next week, just keep that in mind. So however you like to keep parts, so if you want plastic baggies, if you want to just throw them all in the tub, the choice is your guys's, but I want you guys to be aware that all of your magneto is going to come completely apart next week. Okay?
Nice.
So you can see all the inner workings and stuff. Everybody got that down? I think there's something else in here. So, like we said, therefore their fixed timing set to be optimum at these RPMs. Most everybody work during the day?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No.
You tired?
No.
Work at night?
No, I just don't work.
Hmm.
I have no income, so.
What?
I mean, you're retired, you have a retirement. I don't have a retirement.
Well, you have some other form of income besides working, correct?
I'm-
He has his gold buried. I'm just kidding.
I think having some other source of income I consider retirement if you're not working. Or you're like a lifelong student. Could be another one. They just keep deferring their loans and get more money to go to school.
Yeah, as long as you're a student, you don't have to pay the city rules. Isn't that great?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
You go forever?
I wasn't lying. Be a lifetime student.
Yeah, when you graduate or when you stop taking schools, when you have to start making payments.
But you have to be full-time, or you just take one class?
I don't know. I don't know.
Depends on where you got your loan from. Or
6 months after you graduate.
Is it?
Yeah, 6 months after you graduate. They
Oh, so
start.
they give you 6 months to get a job.
Yeah, they assume you'll get a job with
They
the
can't graduate either.
You have to keep
Did
changing.
everybody get that?
No.
No? Did you want me to go back?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Oh,
talking about
okay.
there. I don't know how I could do that. Be full time.
Oh, be a lifetime student?
Yeah.
I like learning and I wish I could sit in a classroom every day, but I really can't afford it. So as load, air density, and temperature increase, there's a tendency for the fuel charge to explode rather than burn. Does anybody know what this is that we're talking about right here? My guys who've taken recips?
It would be exploding rather than burning.
That's detonation.
No, that's
Yeah,
detonation.
detonation.
That's detonation, right? That's right. Yeah, have this class, and the next class will build on it. And
Everybody's name is cheap fuel.
we're running. The night you're running like crap. Maybe you should put some better fuel in there. Everybody got that? Okay. Heat and pressure cause the fuel to ignite at the speed of sound in multiple flame points. Isn't it nice to have plugins on the tables and everything?
Oh, yeah, it was so different when we started.
I feel like we were in grade school. They had like the little sides, and y'all sit in your chairs. And then if you're not right-handed, it sucks because you can't lean. You gotta lean over the side yet. I happen to be left-handed, so it was painful for me.
In multiple flame fronts, can you explain that? Like, is there,
So when there's a spark plug that goes off,
you know,
so like, okay, have you ever poured a big pile of gasoline or something? And you set it on fire in one edge and you can see the flame quickly move across the whole thing?
Yeah.
Same idea, but coming from the spark plug.
Right.
You have one flame front. As the fuel air mixture burns, it burns from the ignition point. But if it's not igniting because of the spark plug, it's igniting because of it's detonating. So something else is igniting
okay,
it,
I see what you're saying.
then the flames are coming from every which way.
So what could be causing it to do that? What are you talking about? What things could be making it?
There could be carbon buildup causing hot spots. Could also be hot spots from or metallurgy, I mean, I guess, theoretically.
So the hot spots from like the pressure.
Well,
Oh,
No,
right.
combustion temperature.
Oh, combustion temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you'll get carbon buildup, and then the carbon starts to glow red hot. It acts like an igniter.
Is that pre-ignition? What's pre-ignition?
That's how you get pre-ignition then?
Could be detonation
Yeah.
too.
Could be detonation, could
It would
be
probably
pre-ignition.
detonate before it pre-ignition.
So in a situation like that, then you'd have to go in and get it cleaned out, the carbon.
Yep. That's when you let it wide open. You dump core water down into it.
exactly what you do.
Here's these guys, they'll help set you up.
It's a failure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so in this slide, we're talking about pre-ignition. I didn't put this part back here, by the way. Somebody else. I think Pilot Serenity is already messed up with themselves. I got pilots in here?
Yeah.
Get your own airplane?
I had one.
You're not retired?
I don't believe in retiring. Keep working. If
You
you
just
work,
told
you
me
should
you're
work.
not, you told me you're not working.
What I'm planning on working. I'm just not working now. I can't, I don't know how you can work full-time and go to school, I guess.
It's rough,
I
but
don't know how I do it.
It sucks.
So,
yeah, it does. It sucks, doesn't it? So that's why I said if you can remember everything you learned in class and work full time, you're a way better student than I ever was. Because I worked full time and went to school here.
I didn't surrender. We need to know.
Yeah, you need to know Serenity.
It's
Want the
a good show.
definition to the T from the dictionary.
Serenity now.
Yeah, I had a math teacher used to say that all the time. Thought he was.
You work it. It's great when you have a hyper-eutectic piston.
Working knowledge or something.
So all the things we're talking about are detonation. But doesn't mean that detonation and pre-ignition are separate, but they can happen simultaneously. Like I said.
Basically, detonation is the fact that it's exploding rather than burning. And pre-ignition is the fact that it's happening before it should.
Yeah, pre-ignition's happening way before. So, so when we're talking about detonation, remember how we said it's straight up and down? So pre-ignition is actually happens at a different time because it'll make it go the opposite way. So if it's at a different angle versus at 15 degrees, we're going the other way. If we hit it, it will try to actually go in reverse, and all the other pistons are trying to compensate for that particular cylinder. But they can technically happen simultaneously. Okay?
Yeah, that last little bit's kind of confusing.
What last little bit on
When
here?
when it's saying this is detonation.
So if it curves way before top dead center and Pal's magic angle. So if we don't hit Pal's magic angle, we're back up here, right? And it's gonna hit straight down, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of detonation. When you're looking at these, it can be both. But basically, what he said when we're talking about detonation, it's happening at different multiple points, causing like an explosion versus a burn. Does that kind of make sense?
Like you detonate explosives.
Yeah, I get that, but because it's saying it occurs way before TDC. That's
Yes.
usually not detonation, though, right?
It's pre-ignition because you're saying it reignites so early that Hal's angle is right on zero
Yeah,
and it
but it
causes
also
it to knock.
the detonation also happens at this point too.
So the reason it makes so much noise is usually a knock, like a diesel
Yeah.
knock, and that's why diesels knock.
That's because it's going at the speed of sound. That means the fuel air mixture is burning too fast. That's the actual treatment.
I'm getting that.
Yeah, the piston is still on its way
it's
up.
happening before
Yeah, it's still-
TDC.
Yeah, the piston is still on its way up. That's why it can break things, because you get this explosion
But this
inside
stuff,
the
this
cylinder.
stuff is happening before top dead center. So when it's talking about this, these things are actually happening before it gets to top dead center.
Right, so it's moving the 15-degree, the Hal's 15-degree, like more towards.
Yeah,
top
more
dead.
towards top dead center because you started back further.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's continue. I know what each one of them are. It's that last part is fishing it.
I agree with you. It's confusing. So if you want to dump that information because it doesn't make sense to you, by all means do
Okay.
it. See, that's how easy I am. Dump it. And the only way I look at pre-ignition and detonation differently, because when I look at them basically the same. But pre-ignition, the only thing I look at is depending on where the angle is, if it's wanting to shoot it back the other way. So instead of going straight up and down, it's going to go back the other way.
And that's because that's where it was saying this occurs way before top dead center. That's what I'm thinking of it is it's
Yeah,
going to shoot it
you're
the other
thinking
way.
of it that way, and
Yeah.
that's why when I think of it that way, but see, they both can. It's kind of hard to explain it that way. That's why when we think of pre-ignition and detonation, that's why we think of them as the same, even though they're not. But yeah, I think of it the way you do, and it was really hard for me to. I was like, it doesn't make any sense. And then he's like, well, it doesn't make sense to look at it as when it fires, one shoots it back, and the other one shoots it straight up and down. And that's exactly how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Other students can look at it a different way, but that's the simplest way I can explain it. Because both of these are going to happen at a different place than 15 degrees after top dead center.
Mhm.
I'm losing the rest of the class. I just got these guys. Classes is right here, and everybody else is just like. Everybody in the back doing all right? Yeah? Okay. You guys got that down? I should be like pink and have like arm flailing. Oops. Okay, that way more on that one. So when you're thinking about detonation and pre-ignition, I think of the final outcome of what will happen. So I'm sorry that was a little confusing. I apologize. And these guys back here are like, yeah, I just said it once. They're probably tired. If they all worked like I do, you guys probably got up at 4 or something, right?
You get to bed till 2.
Or you're somebody who goes to bed really late.
Because he was up studying, right?
Okay, I'm not gonna look
Notes.
at that one. So why are you tired when you come to my class if you go to bed at 2? It should be like your prime
They
time.
got up like at 6, so it's like
Oh, you may not be in retirement, but you're totally in retirement mode. After you retire, you like only sleep a few hours, and then you're back up for like 20 hours, and then you might take a nap in there, but might not.
too hot.
Yeah, I sleep really good for about 3 hours, and that's it. That's all I get every night. But you're not awake enough to get anything done, and you're not tired enough to sleep, and it's a horrible medium.
Cold sleep apnea.
Yeah, I don't think I have that, but everybody got that down?
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at about 8 more slides, okay, guys? Okay, lean air flow ratio will increase temperatures, but heat energy will remain fairly constant. So if we have a lean air fuel ratio, well, it's because why the fuel is usually acts as a coolant too, right? So if we don't have that, obviously the temperatures are going to increase. Totally commemorate all of you guys are still awake. Very impressed. If I was sitting down, I don't know if I'd be awake.
If you were taking notes, you would.
Oh no, see, I would write notes and then I would, because my teachers would sit there and talk for like 30 minutes on the slide. So what can lean air fuel ratios do? What could it cause?
Things that melt valves.
Spark plug fouling.
Spark plug fouling? Get more hot in there? Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Sorry. I don't miss anything for you guys.
If you lean it up enough, you can theoretically melt holes in the pistons and stuff.
And that's exactly what we try to avoid. So usually our ratio is 13 to 1. Technically the ratio that they call out for is 14 parts to 1. But in aviation we want to avoid burning stuff, so we will actually set it to 13 to 1. So we'll actually make it more rich than it has to be, just for that particular reason. Just thought I'd throw that tidbit in there. It's not going to be on the test or anything, just to let you guys know.
Did you know, engines run pretty poorly when you have holes in the pistons.
Do they now? I thought they made them look pretty. You know, different designs.
Yeah.
Decoration.
Yeah. So this would do less evaporation and slower burning. This can also cause destination, but it's more likely to just melt things, just like he said. So if it's too hot in there, it's going to start melting. So my guys in the back following this? Sorry, students in the back following this? I'm going to get off that guy thing. So you a daytime tracker too then, or just at night?
Well, I'm trying to do it at night, so I can do stuff in the day. I hope it's possible though.
I don't know, like lots of these guys work and come to school.
No, I'm just saying when the classes are offered, you know, you can't always, like now, airframe electrical, you can't, you know, at night. Next semester I gotta take it and it's gonna be during the day. I prefer it at night. Just,
Well, if you're on the track, if you're on the 2.5-year track, then you need the class to be offered at night. But if you're trying to finish early, then yeah, it may not be offered when you want it to be, but it'll always be offered within that time frame if you're finishing. Unless you were here during the time I took the class, I had to take one night class because airframe electrical was not offered for over a year and a half during the
Oh my
day because
goodness.
they didn't have enough students. So I had to find a way to be here at night for the class. Everybody got that down? Yeah. Okay, so rich fill air ratios will reduce temperatures and heat energy due to the added evaporation. So like I said, we set ours a little bit richer in aviation. So usually it is 14:1, we set it to 13:1. Just for that reason, we don't want to melt things.
I must have missed that part. No, about the is that a compression ratio? What is that?
So the parts from fuel to air.
Air fuel ratio.
Yeah, air fuel ratio. So
13 parts
13
air, 1
part
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 fuel.
fuel.
Okay.
Called stoichiometry.
Everybody got that down?
One second.
So nobody feels like I'm going too fast, right? Okay. This is about the speed we'll go for the class. Some nights we might have to go a little bit faster, but generally this is about how fast I'll go for the slides. So everybody has enough time to write things down. Okay, everybody got that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so everybody's looking up, so I figured we were good. During side engine, we'll need extra spark power due to the cold temps and slow RPM. Remember I told you that's the only time that the engine isn't turning as fast, so we need a little bit of help. That's where the impulse coupling comes in, gives it that little extra kick. We'll talk about that a little bit more, we'll talk about it a lot more as we go through the magnetos. None of your magnetos, I believe, have an impulse coupling on them, but Mark has a cutout you can look at, and we have impulse couplings by themselves. Somewhere I'm hoping to find them. The other instructor told me they're here, so I'm hoping I can show you guys those. Got like 5 or 6 more slides. You guys doing all right? Peachy. Peachy? Peachy keen? Okay. You guys ready for the next part?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, timing will need to be very retarded. Spark occurs late to avoid damage to the starter. Sorry, I just told you the opposite, didn't I, Nana? I told you retarded is back further, but it's actually closer to. Sorry if I said that backwards.
When you say very retarded, that just means delayed, or
Yeah, so since the engine isn't turning as fast, it doesn't need as much time to get momentum going to burn. So when it's turning slower, it's taking more time to do all of its motions. So we need it to be closer to top dead center.
oh, okay.
Say that right? Did I say that backwards again?
No,
Because
it needs to be closer to the top dead
Yeah.
center.
Because the engine is moving slower, it takes more time for 360 degrees of crankshaft rotation to happen.
Takes more time to get to palismatic angle.
And
So you
therefore,
want to delay
you
it.
don't need to stop
You don't need to
to
start it earlier.
the flame front as early.
Gotcha.
Yes. I didn't say it backwards this time. Awesome. Last semester I kept saying it backwards. Like, confusing me. Well, when you think of retard, you think of setting it back further, which I said opposite to him. When he asked, I said it opposite to you. I'm sorry. Does everybody understand that? Because when you guys do your checkout with Mark, he's going to ask. So I want you to be aware of that. Okay. He's harder than I am, so he'll ask you all sorts of stuff. So during off periods, the sparking will need to be disabled. This eliminates inadvertent starting when propeller is moved by hand. So, what are we talking about? We're talking about this. I don't want those mags hot all the time, right?
No, you need to ground them out.
Yes. And what grounds them out?
Grounding the coil.
The P lead, right? So I've actually heard out in the field there was this guy at Scandinavian. He wanted to impress his friends, and it was 8 o'clock at night. Keys were on the top, mags were turned off, but he put his hand on the prop because he wanted to take a picture of his friends. He thought it was cool. That P lead was broken. Kicked enough just to kill him. Hit him in the head, and that was it. So when you're walking around these things, even when I would work on these, I wanted to see the keys on the top of the dashboard, and I would still go check to see if the mags are off, but I was still aware that something could be electrically wrong. I tried avoiding being in the arc of the prop at all times. Unless you are hand propping, you're going to be there, but you want to make sure that you can get out of the way as fast as you can. But I never play with them, but I just want you guys to be aware of that. I just consider them like a loaded gun.
Okay.
And be aware of it.
If you always treat it like the mags are on,
You're never going to get.
you're not going to get chopped up.
So when you take pictures,
Don't
You
touch
know,
the prop.
yeah, you don't touch prop. A lot of people touch prop. It's like a cool thing to do. If you work on them and you know it works fine, you just did it, sure.
Even then,
So would you disable the magneto, or how would that work?
So
During the period, the sparking will need to be disabled.
so when you're hand propping, when you take recips, is it
Two
two that's out in Montgomery? When you're hand propping, you don't want that thing to start up. So if the mags are hot, so if there's power going to these things and you touch it, it will give it that spark and it could kick over and it could start when you're not ready for it. So how you disable them is there's a switch inside the cockpit that goes to left, right, both off. So most of the time when it's in the off position, it should be off. But like he said, there could be some electrical fault where it's not grounding and it's still considered a hot mag. So it could
mags
inadvertently
still fire.
it can still fire.
The static electricity, would that ever keep a mag loaded, or no?
No, if it's grounded, it shouldn't. It should
Okay.
be fine. But like I said, if there's something wrong electrically, you might not be able to see it.
Probably not though.
But you'll know after it starts. But like I said, when you're walking around props, so this is for people who haven't been around aviation. When you're walking around a propeller in an airplane, you want to treat it like it could start over. So touching it, anything like that, could inadvertently start it.
And if you have to turn the prop for any reason, whether you have to move it to put a tow bar on it or something, turn it the wrong way. Turn the prop backwards.
But yeah, it's just like I say, consider it like a loaded weapon. And you'll learn way more about that when you hit recips class, because you will hand prop in that class. I don't think it's a requirement anymore. I think that you can elect to do it or not to do it. But it's part of the curriculum out there. And it's a lot of fun. When you flip that thing and the engine starts and you're the one that just did it, it's kind of neat. I've seen guys do the 985. That's kind of entertaining. So, all right. Like I said, it will need to be able to, the spark needs to be reliable at any altitude, attitude, and humidity. So at any point, you need that spark to be reliable, no matter what. Because if you have no spark, that's not good. Everybody got that down? I assume because we're quiet, we do. So let's includes completely wet and or frozen with ice. So like I said, no matter what, we need that thing to be reliable. Everybody good? Okay, only needs to be reliable and predictable. So basically, just reiterating this thing needs to be reliable.
That's why we still use 19 teens technology on airplanes.
Yes.
It works.
Yeah, why would we try to fix something that already works? And if you are in general aviation, you might happen to work on airplanes. I worked at an airplane that was built before my grandmother was born in 1927. Or 1937, sorry, 1937. I got to work on a Waco. It was one of the old mail planes. It was kind of neat. It's all fabric, of course, but these things just work. It's so simple. Rigging on a Cessna is simple. Simple stuff, but it works. Everybody got that? Okay, so for an aircraft, they need to be self-contained. They are usually run in pairs for redundancy and improve overall ignition fuel consumption. So we're talking about magnetos here. Are we on 53? Oh, I'm sorry, we're not talking about magnetos, we're talking about spark plugs. That's not like magnetos, but it's also spark plugs.
It applies to both.
It does apply to both, but your magnetos also fires one magneto fires a certain set of leads, and the other one fires the other ones, right? Am I correct?
Correct. Wait, it should be.
That's the way it should be. So your left mag may fire the top on this side and the bottom on the other side.
We're all top plugs.
But it's the same thing for spark plugs. So if nobody know, or if you haven't been around recips, there's 2 spark plugs. So in your car, most of the time you only have one. I happen to have a Mazda truck that had 2 sets of spark plugs. It was kind of neat, but kind of annoying because I had to replace all of them. But in airplanes, they're basically done for redundancy. So if one fails, and also for overall ignition and fuel. Like I said, when you have a big cylinder, if you have 2, it helps with the lighting process. Okay? Almost there, guys. You're gonna make it. Okay. So understand that it's more significant with large bore engines. So like we said, bigger the engine. So a little Cessna guy probably doesn't need both, but if one fails, you have the other.
You have a 6 or 7 inch diameter piston.
Yeah, you're gonna want both of them.
Yeah.
At what point is it considered large bore? Over
I usually say over 5 it's considered large. So guys, this class runs till 8 versus 11. Guys get out a little early. Kind of nice, right? Are you guys here for
Yes.
Sims'
Yes.
lecture? I feel bad for him. They've done that to him a
No.
couple nights in a row, or a couple semesters in a row. He'll come in after another class is over with. My first semester, I had to come in and teach fire protection at 10 o'clock at night. Class was sleeping. So, my last couple of slides are just pictures for you guys. So, magneto.
So that's obviously hooked into the battery then, or
No.
no?
Battery.
And then that
batteries.
connects to the engine flywheel.
Oh, okay. Well, the only reason I ask is because you get the spark from the magneto, right? So, which is electrical. So, where's the spark source coming from?
In the magneto.
Right, but I mean, what powers the magneto?
Spinning
The
of the
engines.
engine.
The gears.
Oh, okay.
the
Just like a
gear case
generator.
of the engine.
Oh, okay. I got. So there's almost like a generator inside the
Yeah, it's
magneto.
attached to the gear
Something
case.
like that, yeah.
There's a big.
Hey, I don't know any of this stuff, guys.
I
Come
know,
on.
you
Need to
guys,
spur
you guys
you.
give him a hard time. Yeah, this is his first. This is like when you guys is first looking at engines. This is, this is his first class here. So when I was talking about those dual mags, but see, it's only got one drive here. So if any of that fails, you're out. So just go picture. I don't know.
Any of it. I mean, I had a dual mag fail on just one half the cylinder wire on the other side.
Yeah, but
So the drive fails,
yeah,
but the drive didn't fail, it just failed one side.
Yeah, but
Part of it.
But if the drive did fail.
yeah. If the
then
drive
you-
did fail, then you only
The
you're.
drive didn't fail.
Which yeah, you just happen to be that it wasn't that part that failed. But it shares parts together, and that's the reason why they went to having two separate magnetos. So, what is this?
Yeah.
It is a magneto. Everybody's like, is this a trick question? This is a different kind of magneto. You will see one of these. I think the big radio out there has these. So the leads will come out. It'll come out of here. It's just a different kind. We're not going to work with this one. It's just a bigger magneto.
Bendix.
And has that one got two of them?
No,
as well,
it's
or-
just a big magneto.
You can tell by the end of that.
Yeah. Well, I happen to know this magneto, but it's not a dual one inside.
Cool.
But this is a heavier, dutier magneto. So you'll see these out at I believe the WASP out there has these on there. So if you guys want to take a look. I'm going to take you guys out to the shop here in a minute, and I'm going to kind of show you the engine and the leads and stuff. For most of my students, yes, I said students, you guys have been, some of you guys have been through resits or looked at engines before. But for the students that haven't, I mean, this is why you're in class. The whole reason you're taking these classes. So this is actually my last slide for the night. I'm actually going to take you guys out and take a look at this, but these are the leads coming off of the mags that go to the separate spark plugs. So like we were talking about, one mag ignites half of them, the other mag ignites the other half. Sends power through.
Oh, okay. There's two.
Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys out to the shop for a few minutes. We'll take a look at that. You guys will probably have about 20 minutes to go through the book if you guys want to look at some stuff while you're in lab. And we'll probably get out of here a couple minutes early, probably before 8. Okay, so if you guys want to come take a walk.